check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. 1, 2. Check. Hey. Check. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. Check. That's it. Check. Welcome to tonight's City of Covington Council meeting dated August 9th, 2022. If you don't mind, putting your phones on silent or on off would be appreciated. Roll call, please.
Councilman Lewis.
Here.
Councilman Botsford.
Here.
Councilman Roberts.
Here.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Here.
Councilman Barrett.
Here.
Councilman Smith.
Here.
Councilman Rowling.
Here. All right. So if everybody would stand for a moment of silence, we appreciate that. Senator Patrick McMath, would you lead us in the pledge, please? Thank you. Okay, appears tonight. We would ask the appearers to take around 5 to 7 minutes would be appreciated. And when you come to the podium, if you would state your name and address for the record. And first off, we have Senator Patrick McMath. We appreciate you being here tonight.
Thank you, President Rowling, members of the council. My name is Patrick McMath. I reside at 227 West 23rd Avenue, currently. Hometown Covington. Happy to be back in the council chambers where I got to have the opportunity to serve with a number of you and this great body. So I wanted to come here today and just provide a brief summary of what transpired over the last legislative session. And again, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to do that. So, you know, it's been no secret that my top priority going to Baton Rouge is bringing home the bacon, if you will. Infrastructure and local support for our parish and our municipalities that are in my Senate district, including my hometown of Covington. And I can say I'm very proud that that mission was accomplished this past session. It's a little easier, as I've learned, to do that when the state has the money that we have right now. And I see that continuing for the next 2 years. So we're going to get the money while we can. And just wanted to call to your attention some of the projects and the nonprofits and the agencies that receive dollars that are going to directly impact the quality of life in a positive way for the city of Covington. So on infrastructure projects, we fully funded I-12 widening, all 3 phases. Those are, phase 1 is on schedule, set to be complete by the end of this year. As you know, this is also very important to me as I'm chair of the Senate Transportation Committee with my colleague on the House side, our former colleague, Chairman Wright, on the House. So he and I team up and go after these projects and try to keep DOTD as honest as we can, whenever we can. And so that has resulted in a good relationship for the most part with the administration. And it has led to us getting some significant funding for projects like the 3 phases of I-12 widening, the Bogafly Bridge, which all of you've seen lately. We've started that project. Finally, this is something that's been talked about for 20 plus years, and proud to see that taking place. It's going to take a number of years to complete, but we started. So as Secretary Wilson said, that section was the #1 bottleneck in the state of Louisiana. So we were proud to get the $37+ million in funding to see that project started. In addition to that, that is just first phase of multiple phases of the US 190 widening. Phase 2A, which is in the area of Highway 25 and Ronald Reagan, where it meets 190. That'll be the next step. We sent a few $1 million for engineering and planning of that, which is going to be a roundabout and a widening to bring it all the way down after phase 2A, 2B, to connect to the bridge. So everything north of Bogafly after those 3 phases are complete, will be completed, improved, and widened. The historic district overlays right here in downtown Covington, this is something that worked very closely with the administration on. It was a part of 2 requests that we were able to, myself and Chairman Wright were able to allocate $3 million to the overlay and of the historic district of downtown Covington, very similar to what we did for the Boston Street overlays. And so I know we've all been dealing with, my office right here in downtown Covington has been a construction site in a good way for all these point break repairs that the city is taking under their wing. And once those are all said and done, we're going to start. Well, you guys will have the money to see the historic district roads nice and shiny and black. So that's something that also very, very proud to get. The Covington sewer and water projects. This has been obviously a priority for this administration and for the council. I serve on the Water Sector Commission. This is something that was formed 2 sessions ago. It is a body that takes in applications and in conjunction with LDH and DEQ at the state level, score projects and fund those projects. It's a grant program. When we started this 2 years ago, we set aside $300 million, and the project was such a great success that we extended the project and added $450 million to the upcoming year. And I know that Covington had applied for a few of them. There's sewer and then there's water projects. We separated those out and prioritized those. The water projects received 70% of the funding. Sewer projects received 30%. We're probably going to follow a similar formula this year. Covington was very, very close. In fact, Covington and Mandeville were about 2 points shy of receiving funding last year. I have every reason to believe that those projects, that one project, which I think totals somewhere around $3.8 million, will be, the City of Covington will be awarded those grant dollars. So I've worked closely with Mayor Mark and Aaron Bavona, and we're working with the Division of Administration to make sure that we're in a very good position. And as a member of that commission, there's 8 of us, 4 from the House and 4 from the Senate. I want to make sure that we do everything that we can to get those projects funded. So in addition to the infrastructure, local law enforcement has been a priority for me, and we were able to allocate $540,000 to the Sheriff's Department for new equipment, including bulletproof vests and high water rescue vehicles, as well as $100,000 went to Covington Police Department. Now that money hasn't been transferred yet. I just spoke to the chief, but we're going to make sure that the Covington Police Department gets that funding. It's actually one of my favorite calls I made this session. I called Chief Farrell and I said, if you had a wish list, what would it look like? He said, well, we could use this for, it probably cost you about $20,000. And, well, this might cost another $5,000. It's like, how about you give you $100,000 and see what you can do with it? And that went over very well. It's always fun to make those phone calls. In addition to the local law enforcement agencies, there are a number of nonprofits in this community that benefit us, and I was able to allocate several $100,000 to organizations like NAMI and Hope House and Family Promise, and the Child Advocacy Center right here in Covington received $340,000 in one-time state funding. So something very, very proud of. Again, has a direct impact on our quality of life right here in our community. And then one of the pieces of legislation that I carried, because I'm not entirely a one-trick pony in terms of getting funding, but I had a bill that addressed the shortfall that the judicial system in the 22nd JDC is facing. It's about a $700,000 budget shortfall, and that goes directly to operations of the judicial system. So I'm talking about payroll for judge, staff, security, and funding for the specialty courts, which again has had a positive impact. St. Tammany and the 22nd JDC leads the state in the programs that the judges have put together in terms of these specialty courts. And this legislation that passed without one no vote goes to support those. So something very, very proud of as well. And I just want to say this, and I know my time is running short. I might be a little bit biased having not only residing in the city of Covington. And for those watching at home, I grew up in Mandeville, still love Mandeville. In fact, Mandeville received the single largest dollar allocation for a drainage project. They got $7 million in state cash. So I want to make sure that I drop that. And I had the opportunity to speak in front of the Mandeville City Council a few weeks ago. Right, well, still got to, you know, check all my boxes. I got to say that not only being a resident here, but being a member of this, a former member of this body, the city of Covington has its act together when it comes to the responses that I get from Joanne or Aaron or the mayor or a number of you that I interact with, you know, daily, weekly basis. And I got to say, you make my job easier, and I really mean that. The response that we get and the feedback that we get from staff and the administration and from you all really is unrivaled. So I want to thank you for making it easier on me up in Baton Rouge for the work that you guys do here in the city of Covington. I've mentioned it to them. So anyway, and I'd be happy to I don't know if we answer questions.
Yeah, I think Councilman Smith has something.
I got a few. First off, Senator McMath, it was a pleasure of working with him, by the way, when he wasn't part of this council. But thank you so much for working hard just to bring some of those tax dollars back to St. Tammany. For a long time there, nobody felt like we were getting our fair shake. And I think between you and Representative Wright, you guys have worked real hard to make sure that we get our fair shake. And we appreciate that. You've done a lot for the Covington area in particular. I've got a question, and it's only because I didn't think of it, but a constituent brought it up to attention of Mr. Verrett and myself. The oak trees on 190 by the Walgreens, that's going to be compromised, I would assume, that whole area with the bridge. And it seems like when I looked at that design a few years back, we talked about it. Can those oak trees be saved? In other words, there's a state, what's the state have plans? There's probably, 20 or 30 of them? I don't know, but it's a bunch of them. It's like a live oak grove. Somebody was talking about some piece of equipment where they come in and they can actually cut out the root ball and salvage the trees. They're pretty nice oak trees. So that was a question. Do you know if the state's got any plans
I've
for
had
that?
multiple discussions with DOTD.
And I was going to say, so I know that Noble has been in discussion.
Yeah, we've had, from the moment it was brought up to our attention, I've been in touch with DOTD. A lot of interesting little tidbits. For example, the trees were not legally permitted on the right-of-way, and so they pointed that out. Right now, they're only removing a couple of the trees. It's not the whole grove. From an arborist standpoint, the trees are actually planted too close together to flourish. And to move a tree, if a private individual would not be able to move it, we would have to do a cooperative endeavor agreement with DOTD to move them. And then Keith Billery explained to me that to do it properly, you need to root prune the tree, which means cut the roots around the base of it and wait a year, and then you can come in with a spade machine. I think what we need to be aware of is that the long-term plan of DOTD is roundabouts at each one of those traffic signals on Claiborne Hill. So that's where we could actually lose a number of trees. For us to have saved the trees that are being removed now, we should have started 2 or 3 years ago. So that's kind of like shame on us for us not thinking about that. But right now, we can be thinking about those remaining trees and saying, okay, do we want to root prune those this winter and move them after that? And if so, where are we going to move them, and who's going to pay for it? Because that spade piece of equipment is very, very expensive. So those are kind of the questions that we as a community need to be asking ourselves.
And to add to that a little bit too, it's my understanding that DOTD did receive or did seek out a proposal for what that would cost, and I believe it's somewhere in the ballpark of $350,000. I don't know if it's that project or if it was another one that was very similar, but it's a significant cost. And now, I'm not saying, we all love our live oaks. I've got 3 beautiful ones in my front yard. But there can be a price to progress at times.
Good. So I have an answer to give the constituent that asked. And the second one I've got, Reagan Highway. and 25.
Mm-hmm.
Is that still going to be a roundabout at that area?
That is the Phase 2A project that I was talking about.
And when was the startup approximately, the start, is it after the bridge is completed?
No, I mean, I think that's not my plan. I'm going to do everything I can. That's basically the next big project that's next on the list. It's already received partial cash allocation for engineering and planning. So the first big hurdles has been cleared. That bridge is going to take 3 to 4 years. It's actually being built. One bridge, as I understand it, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe one bridge is being built first, and then they're going to switch the traffic to the new bridge while they connect the old to make those 4 lanes. So that's going to take a significant amount of time. But I say all that to say there's no reason why we have to wait for the completion of the bridge to start Phase 2A, which is the roundabout on 25 and 190.
Right, okay.
And if I might add, Councilman, I think that was originally DOTD's plan, because I was told that, hey, when we finish this, we'll start the design of the next phase. But I believe because of the pressure that we have put on brought light to the issue, because now Secretary Sean Wilson is actually quoting some things that have been said here coming out of Covington, and then having Senator McMath and Representative Wright there, I think we're seeing that move up in the priority.
That's right.
That'd be cool. And while we're on that subject, if and when that roundabout at 25 and Reagan Highway happens, Mayor, I would like to consider moving the Reagan statue at the trailhead and replacing it with like Louis Prima with a horn or something, and taking Reagan statue and putting it in the roundabout at Reagan Highway. I just think that'd be a more appropriate location for it. It's just a thought, but it's something for you to think of. Well, that's all.
Councilman, if I'm fortunate enough to serve another term, that roundabout still won't be finished yet. So one of you may be the mayor.
And in all honesty, that's probably why we didn't do anything with the oak trees, because we kept hearing, oh yeah, we're going to build this bridge. When? Yeah, I know you said we should have started a year or two before, but until Patrick got there, it was just a dream. But thank you, Senator, for being here tonight. We certainly do appreciate the summary.
Thank you.
And thanks for all you do.
Absolutely.
Okay, Councilwoman Ludwig.
Oh, I just wanted to say, you thanked us, but thank y'all for being so accessible. Noble Bates is always a text away or a phone call, and you, of course, as well. So thank you. And also, if there's any other hundreds of thousands of dollars laying around, like the police department, we could probably use it in the rec, or, just let us know. I know you'll always keep this in mind.
I will.
Thank you, Councilman Boxford.
Yeah, I just want to echo that and say thanks for representing us and bringing that money back here. It means a lot to the residents and our quality of life. I just had a couple questions that have been brought to me. One is, was I correct in hearing that you said the old bridge will remain?
That's how I understand it.
Okay.
Is they're going to be as efficient as possible, connect the two bridges once it's all said and done.
Okay.
But look, I could be wrong about that, but that's from the last conversations I've had. I'm pretty sure that was the case.
Yeah, I've heard that it's remaining, torn down, new and built, so it's just it's just been rumors. So
I saw the other day on the internet that the rumor is that's where they tore down those trees because that's where the new Costco is going to go. That is not accurate.
Exactly. The other question is that faces a lot of the unique culture of Covington is, what about the trace? What will happen during the construction on the bridge? Will the trace be closed?
Will it? I mean, I would imagine so. You're going to have cranes and that kind of, but I would think, Mayor Mark is saying that that's the case. I would imagine that it would be during certain phases.
So if that's the case and stuff, what I'd like to look into, if possible, is have a bike lane on the bridge so we could bypass that, because it's pretty vital to our area. We have a lot of people, a lot of traffic. They visit our restaurants and everything else that bike in and out of Covington.
That's a good point. I know that there's some room along the side, I believe, for a sidewalk, and I'd be happy to assist with that from a DOTD standpoint if I can.
And some people travel for work that way, too, on the
do.
trace, like further,
That's
jobs.
true.
So not just a leisure thing, if that's a better angle, we could mention that, too.
Yeah, I see there's a couple gentlemen that ride to Pool Lumber. They come from Abita and go that way, so that would be, great for them.
Yeah.
just make it safe.
Great point.
The other thing is actually would probably concern more of Mayor Mark and myself on that roundabout on 25. Could there possibly be like a golf cart lane on that one? So
These are so North Shore questions that I'll be happy to ask the DOT. They've come to expect it at this point.
no, but in all seriousness, really, thank you for everything that you've done.
Absolutely, thank you.
Councilman Roberts.
Just quick on a personal level, I love seeing people chase their dreams, and you're inspiring, man. So keep doing what you're doing. Absolutely love watching it. You're setting a legacy for what's to come. So I appreciate that for Covington. On a district seat level, just for everybody in the district seat in Covington, and thank you for what you're doing. It's amazing to watch it happen, and thank you for working with our administration to get it done too.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Councilman Barrett.
Let me just say that we sincerely appreciate you and what you're doing. Every time I speak to a little group, Public Works makes me look good, and you guys are making me look good. And so, seriously, Boston was a big deal. And we know, because we're there every day with your office there, my office there, those streets need some attention. And that's going to make a big difference. So thank you. And keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Councilman Lewis.
Yeah, I just want to echo what everybody else has said. Thank you for your hard work. You and Noble always answer the call when we call. So yeah, keep up the good work. Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Okay, sir. Ditto, and thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good evening.
Listen, I wish all my meetings were like this. And forgive me, I actually have to be in Baton Rouge for dinner, so I'm going to step out. But you guys know where to find me.
Be
Thank you again
careful.
for having me.
Be careful, sir. All righty, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, Ms. Diane Weiss, 4 on the 4th. Good to see you again.
My pleasure to be here this evening. That's a tough act to follow, gosh. I'm going to have to go before Senator McMath next time when it talks about dispensing money. But officially, good evening to the mayor, city officials, and to our city council members. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening and address all of you in this public setting. As you know from the agenda, I am here to provide a brief follow-up from our annual 4 on the 4th race, which is held, as you guessed, on the 4th of July. And as you also know and appreciate, events like this do not happen without the support of our city leadership and all of the departments engaged in supporting an event like this. From the mayor's support to the permitting process, which was incredibly efficient in getting all the necessary approvals, was quite impressive. And this year in particular, we want to publicly and openly thank our Department of Public Works for stepping up and helping see through a last-minute challenge that they very successfully navigated through. We were out at UB Gallagher Park on Sunday evening, on July 3rd, to set up for the race, and discovered that power to the pavilion had been disconnected or off or just was not working. So in a little bit of a panic, because you know my running and walking colleagues are very much enamored to having a cold beer after the race, there was no way to get electricity to plug in the beer trailer. So I reached out to the mayor, who immediately reached out to the necessary department heads and responded that we will do whatever we can to help you and make sure that we address that. So knowing that the mayor's leadership does drive and inspire that kind of call to action, we put a little plan in place. Again, do we have a portable generator? We're scrambling around to see what we could have to make sure we could, provide all of the amenities that our race participants have come to appreciate, and left with just having all the faith and confidence that we could in our department leaders. And we were extremely pleased and excited and openly, vocally excited to pull up at UB Gallagher Park at 5 o'clock the next morning to see the lights on in the pavilion and the power restored. So I really want to thank Jim. Yeah, that was great work. I understand you guys were out there at midnight trying to address that issue, and we are truly, truly grateful for you and your team and the work that you did to help this event be as successful as it was. So thank you. We also wanted to tell you that the 15th Street Flyers, much like any other organization, has run, no pun intended, the usual course of leadership, interest, and engagement. And as a volunteer organization, like many of the organizations you all are engaged with, It cannot be run with just one person, that being me, rowing the boat. Fortunately, as my founding partners have sort of semi-retired from their roles in the 15th Street Flyers, not from running our healthy lifestyles, but more related to our other engagements and responsibilities. I've been fortunate to have a few new members of the 15th Street Flyers step up, not only to keep the club viable, which I think is a nice offering to the community we have, but to also ensure that our quirky little homegrown race on the 4th of July continues. So I was delighted to have some folks step up, Charles Allen, Steve Happel, a few of the other guys who run regularly out here on Tuesday evenings, not only stepped up to help the club, but to make sure that this event continues. Now, not only did we continue the event, we upped our game, we increased participation, we had a little bit extra value to the event with some nice little perks for our race participants. Based on the steps that we took this year, we are truly re-energized and excited about the future of 4 on the 4th, and are confident that will continue to happen and serve multiple purposes, including how we can support our very own community, which was the original mission of what we set out to do 23 years ago, was to make it that it provides some support for our community, primarily focusing on kids and youth sports and activities. And holding true to that core mission and the core goals of what we do as that volunteer organization, I am really excited to be here tonight to present some donations, as we promise that 100% of the race proceeds go directly back into our community. So I'd like to make those presentations, if you will. Indulge me. And again, keeping in mind this is a very small event on the 4th of July with about 400 people, not state senate money, but money that we are excited to be able to present back to a lot of organizations through a real true grassroots efforts. I always think about Mayor Mark's message about sometimes it just means buying lunch or how we can support so many different things. Our mission, and we stole a little bit of your tagline, was just put one foot in front of the other. Register, come out and put one foot in front of the other, and you do some great things for your community. I think you'll see the greatness in these donations. So when we talk about community partners, the mission we held, again, as we started this 23 years ago, was to support kids and youth activities. We added our first responders within the community, and then other community partners. So we're happy to expand our reach a little bit to include others. And not only are we excited about expanding our reach, we're also excited about being able to give a little bit more this year than we had over the last COVID-ridden years that made it difficult to do events like this. So for our community outreach, we have a donation for the Tammany Trace Foundation and for Hope House. Those are two organizations that provide recreation and support for kids in our area, so we'll make sure that those donations get delivered to those organizations. From our first responders, we are delighted to make a donation to the Covington Firefighters Association, and we are extremely excited to present a donation to the Wade Sharp Fraternal Order of Police Lodge on behalf of the Covington Police Department. And if you can accept that, can you take that tonight? Yes. And then on to supporting kids and our youth activities. An organization that I've learned a little bit about, thanks to some of you here on the council, and would like to expand our support, is the Boys and Girls Club in the Covington unit. So we've got a donation for the Boys and Girls Club. Are you able to take that? Yes. I'll give that to you. Yep. And lastly, and our most proud donation, and it's a tremendous partnership because as we work with organizations that help kids in our community, not only are we able to help them, but these organizations help us. And for those of you that have done events, and I know some of you have done plenty of events, you know that we depend very much on volunteer support. Who's going to man the water station? Who's going to help with traffic? Who's going to make sure we take care of folks at the finish line? And we are super proud of the relationship that we've developed with the YMCA of St. Tammany, of West St. Tammany. Not only do they come out and help us park cars and man the water station and do all the things that you need done to help an event like this be successful. They do it with a smile and they do it with enthusiasm, and we're especially grateful for the team that came out at 5:15 on the 4th of July. And our donation to the YMCA is a $2,000 donation this year, so we're really excited about that. Thank you. You guys were tremendous. I know you put that to good use. You always do. it's our pleasure to be able to give back. It's how we put one foot in front of the other to help our community. So, thank you all very much.
Thank you. And one thing I want to say too, you have been so close-knit in this community, and you always give back, and we appreciate all you do for the community.
It's the one thing that running and walking can do, right?
Councilman Roberts?
Yeah, absolutely. And I will not make this long because, I think the world of you. I try to measure life and not what we have, but what we give. And it's amazing that what you do out there, like you said, a small event, but it benefits so many. And the trickle effect of dollars that go into resources for kids. I mean, Cody will feel it with Boys and Girls Club. I see it at my lot. So I'm telling you, especially in this time and age, thank you very, very much for helping. That's amazing.
It's our pleasure.
Yes,
Totally
ma'am.
our pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, the consent calendar. Regular meeting minutes, July 19th, 2022. Introduction of item number 2022-0801, an ordinance of the amend the 2022 capital and operating budget. Also, introduction of item number 2022-0802, an ordinance of the City of Covington revoking the 7.5-foot servitude on the rear line of Lot 20B, Overlanding Subdivision, Section B, in the City of Covington. I need a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Motion to accept.
Need a second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig,
Yes.
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis.
Thank you. Okay, moving on to the regular agenda, unfinished business, items to be voted on. Public hearing action, item number 2022-0701, an ordinance of the City of Covington amending the following provisions of the Covington Code of Ordinances, Chapter 17, peddlers, curbside solicitors for nonprofit donations, and door-to-door solicitors. Councilman Smith.
Thank you. We introduced this at our last meeting, and I'm pretty sure that I wasn't the only council person that received phone calls from their neighbors, et cetera, complaining about the solicitation at their front doors at 8 o'clock at night, no valid ID, no permits. And I went and looked at the existing ordinance we had, and I thought it may be the time to make a few changes. This amended ordinance would now read, if we vote to pass it, that the valid permit must be worn, okay? It used to say you just had to have it. You step up at somebody's doorstep and they don't see it, okay? So this ordinance would require them to wear it. And secondly, the time that they can come to your house to knock on your door ends at 6 p.m., regardless if it's daylight savings or not, okay? 6 p.m. to 9 a.m. Central Standard Time, whereas it used to read during daylight savings time, they could come knock on your door up to 8 o'clock at night. I'm not for that. I don't think any of our residents are for that. Now they can go there if they got an appointment with that resident, but they can't just cold call or knock on the door, okay? So if we choose to adopt this, what we're basically saying is that these peddlers need to have a visible permit and has to be worn. Can't be in their pocket, okay? And secondly, they can only knock on your door up until 6 p.m. year-round. Fairly simple, but I think that's a couple of small steps in the right direction. And I think our residents will be happy with that. I recommend we do something.
Yes, and I know we're going to go into council comments in a minute. Let's open it up for public comments at this time. Anyone from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll move right into, I'm sorry.
I couldn't get my mic on.
Okay.
I think it's a great change. I'm all in favor of it. I would like to ask that all of our residents, when you have a concern with a door-to-door solicitor being too aggressive, not being permitted, not showing, that please use the text tip 411 app. You know, you get the text CPDLA to 847-411. Enter that in your phone as a contact for the Covington Police Department, and any future text messages will go directly to an officer on duty. It takes the same amount of time to post it on Facebook or put it on Next Door Neighbor with no result. Now, if the police are busy with a domestic violence or a vehicle accident with injury, no, they may not be available. But this is a great way. You can call your councilman, or you can text the police officer directly to come out and investigate. So I just encourage all of our residents to use the Tip 411 app for that purpose.
Thank you, Mayor. Before we go into council comments, anybody else from the public? Okay, seeing none, hearing none. One thing I would like to say first, and then we'll go into whoever has any other comments. One thing I was wondering, because of this change, and I think it is a great change, and it's long overdue. My question is, what is the administration's plans on advertising this to the public? Is it like the website, the mayor's newsletter, things like that, to kind of notify them what they should be wearing, so when someone comes to the door, they'll know, you know, they're doing the right thing? Thoughts on that?
Well, certainly it'll be put on the website as a code change in Unicode, but we can definitely use social media and our website to put a scroll to say that there is a new ordinance change for peddlers going door to door and what the requirements are. And if you have any other ideas how we can disseminate that, we're happy to do it.
I think that's excellent. Also, we can share it with the constituent emails that we have. We have a ton of them. So if there's something maybe from the city, because it's so important that
Sure.
now we know, because I know Rick was getting calls, I got a few calls, I'm sure other people have gotten a few calls, just kind of very cautious, right, in the times that we're in right now. So I think that's excellent. The mayor's newsletter would be excellent. And then, of course, anything that the administration wants to give to us officially in email form,
Right.
we can go ahead and send it out, and
Right.
Joanne can send it out also. But
Okay.
I appreciate that.
And then
Council-
PD
I'm
can
sorry.
send it, put it out on their Facebook as well with the reminder of how to send the tip by text.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Council comments, Councilman Boxford?
Yeah, my question, I guess it's more for the chief and / Rod. I know that, like in subdivisions where they have no soliciting signs posted and things like that, that an HOA specifically states that it supersedes the cities with this one here. How is that enforceable? I mean, what is the, I know you can text, like Mayor Mark said, you can text the number, but is it? Okay. So it's not enforceable by the, okay, that's one of the questions I had on that one. The other one, I know this is a little different in the door-to-door guys and stuff, and it's just because it just kind of goes along with this, is the guys that are out there on 190 and different areas like that, this is totally, the panhandlers are totally different for this ordinance. I realize that. Is there anything that, in your opinion, that we could stop them from going out in traffic and stuff? I get a lot of calls about those guys. I'll look at it, the chief. Yeah, because I've seen quite a few loans get hit, so. Okay. But I do feel that this is long overdue and well needed, so. thank you.
Councilman Smith?
The solicitation sign, in our ordinance, and it's not part of this, but within that same area right there, if you go look at it, if a homeowner has a no solicitation sign at their door, that's enforceable. That's a city ordinance, okay? I don't know about the homeowner, no solicitation in a subdivision, but the individual home has a non-solicitation, no solicitations allowed. It's illegal for them to go anytime and knock on your door. And that's in the ordinance. So I would imagine if your neighbor or resident in Savannah's, let's say, has that, somebody knocks on their door at noon, they could call, or text, they could text, excuse me, they could text the police chief or the Covington Police Department and say, this guy, I've got non-solicitation sign posted in my yard or on my front door or whatever, and they're knocking on my door.
Okay, Councilmember Rudd.
Yeah, I was just going to add that, well, number one, Rick and I, Councilman Smith and I live fairly close together. We had a flood of calls at one point with these people coming in. So the visible and the hours are going to make a difference. But I was just going to say that when the peddler's permit is received, it'd be nice to give them a copy of this with the permit, because I'm sure the peddler's going to say, well, how am I supposed to know? They're not from Covington, and so they're not going to get our newsletter. They're not going to get, so I just think that would be nice to attach it to the actual permit.
Well, we can make it a part of the permit itself that they sign, acknowledging receipt.
And that would be even bigger, we could cut and paste that within it as well. Right.
Yeah, and I mean, I think this just gives them some more teeth to actually enforce it instead of just, hey, we don't like you hanging out in our town kind of thing. I think it's on the books officially, so.
So if they don't have the permits, like Fox Pest Control, that's actually has an office here now, so I guess that would have to go back to you to go to, or the city or somebody, because if they're not getting permits or badges for their employees, because they're all over the place, even though they're wearing Fox on their shirts, that doesn't quite muster up, to having an actual badge. So that would be for us to address the businesses themselves.
Which also brings me to another conversation I had with Mark Verrett and a few of the residents in the city. I think it's high time that we make adjustments to the fines that we charge, okay? I don't know when these fines were set, but maybe it was 1970 or something. You get a slap on your wrist, and then we give you a warning, and you get a slap on the wrist, and then you pay a $100 fine. Maybe we need to make that a $100 a warning, or a $100 fine the second time, and maybe $750 fine the third time, okay? So those are some things I think that we as a council should possibly get together and just kind of feel out, okay? That's it.
All right, anything else from the council? If no more comments from anyone, is there any objection to close the public hearing? Hearing none, seeing none. Motion to close, please.
Motion to close.
I need a second.
Second.
Motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
Councilman Verret.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Rowling.
Yes.
Councilman Lewis.
Yes.
Councilman Botsford.
Yes.
Thank you. Public hearing and action item number 2022-0702, an ordinance of the City of Covington to amend the 2022 capital and operating budget. Councilman Verret?
There is no question that public parks provide recreational amenities, and I'm reading right off the ordinance because I couldn't agree with the language better. Quote, contributing to the overall health and well-being. I'll add that not only for our residents, but for those that visit the city. Nose Park is one of those parks that had been somewhat neglected. I thank this administration for recognizing it and trying to do something on an annual basis to improve it. The fact of the matter is we've had multiple requests from those people in the area to provide playground equipment that is appropriate for that park. And that's what this amendment is, to fund the installation of basically age-appropriate playground equipment for Nose Park.
Thank you, sir. At this time, we'll go ahead and open it up to the public. Anybody from the public has any comments on this? Council, any comments? Well said, Councilman Verret. Okay, any objections to close the public hearing? Seeing none, hearing none. I need a motion to close, please.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I need a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
Councilman Verret.
Yes.
Councilman Smith.
Yes.
Councilman Rowling.
Yes.
Councilman Lewis. Councilman Botsford.
Yes.
Councilman Roberts.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, new business. Resolution number 2022-17, a resolution of the City of Covington Council authorizing the mayor to enter in a cooperative endeavor agreement with St. Peter's Catholic School, St. Scholastic Academy, and St. Paul's Catholic School for the provision of school resource officers. Councilman Verret?
At our last council meeting, we addressed this for our public schools. This is the resolution which allows it for our private schools. I have letters from Brother Ray at St. Paul's and the head of school at SSA, along with the principal of St. Peter's, that they would like to participate in this program. I think it's good for our kids, it's good for the safety, and it's certainly good for the reimbursement to the city. So I would encourage that that be adopted.
Thank you, sir. Before we go in, any comments from the public? Administration?
Yes,
You have a comment?
I would just like to point out again, similar to the structure that we have with the public school system, is that the schools are going to reimburse the city for the cost of providing those officers for a minimum of 10 months out of the year. So that'll cover the school year, and then if they need to utilize them for any camps or anything like that, they'll cover that cost as well.
Thank you for explaining that. We appreciate
Also,
it. Yes.
I'll be meeting with SSA and St. Peter Catholic School tomorrow to discuss the specifics of the agreement. So
And
we
with
should have
that in
soon.
mind, I just want to add, which I know you're familiar with, but they did state in their letter that they would look at June and July after the school year. So I'd like some kind of just urging them to not wait until May 30th to tell us.
You got it.
Appreciate that. Anyone from the public that would like to speak on behalf of this resolution? Moving on to council comments, Councilman Roberts.
Yeah, I just want to, I guess, say it because it's in my heart. Being a former teacher, this is so vital to the safety of the school, and I absolutely love that we are stepping up to try to help in some way to keep kids protected. And I want to recognize Officer Powell sitting in the back there, who's been doing Covington High School Resource Officer for 9 years. Amazing job. My kids have gone through the school. He's always been a good face and a safety measure for everyone in the school. So thank you for what you do, and thank you guys for making this happen.
I just want to add to that. So I've spoken with the leadership at most of these schools and within the school board, and they are extremely appreciative to Chief Farrell for being open to this idea and to you guys for doing what's needed to make it happen.
Well said, Councilman Roberts, for sure. I think we're all thinking the same thing. Anything else? Councilman Boxford?
Yeah, I think this is a no-brainer. I think it's long overdue because the children of Covington are our most precious resource, and they need to be protected. And I commend St. Peter's and St. Paul's and St. Scholastica for stepping up and taking this action. And I think it's good all the way around. Happy to see it.
Let me just go on record. I was thinking about this to say that I would encourage SSA and St. Peter's to take advantage of this opportunity, both in June and July. And so I would encourage the city to encourage them to do that.
I think they're open to it. I spoke to Sherry Gillio at SSA, and between all the camps and everything, I think it's small, they don't want to interfere with the police department's hiring. So I think that they're very open to and recognize that it's needed because they've got camps and teacher and services going on anyway. So it seems like an easy fit. But I wanted to just say thanks to the administration, our council, and the police department. I mean, thank goodness we have the resources, for lack of a better word, to provide this. Because, a few years ago, we didn't have enough police officers for our own city, much less to be able to provide one for each school is awesome. So I'm so proud that y'all kind of started it, and then we all, of course, agreed and followed suit, and thankfully have a flourishing police department. And thank you for your leadership, Chief Farrell, to keep it that way.
And now, just to clarify that, we are not taking any officers off the streets. These are additional officers.
Additional, right.
I did not want people to think we were taking officers off the street.
I think it's great that we have such a surplus of people willing to serve on our streets as well as our schools.
We thank you for clarifying that. I think that's a good thing. Thank you very much. Okay, we all good? All right, I do need a motion to accept, please.
Motion to accept.
I need a second, okay. Roll call.
Councilman Verret,
Yes.
Councilman Smith,
Yes.
Councilman Rowling,
Yes.
Councilman Lewis, Councilman Botsford,
Yes.
Councilman Roberts,
Yes.
Councilwoman Ludwig.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, items for discussion. We want to welcome Mr. Chris Noblock from the coroner's office. Councilman Lewis? And I hope I pronounced that right, I'm not sure, but come up to the podium and correct me, please. I did the best job I could with that one.
Perfect, Councilman, thank you so much.
I met Mr. Chris a while back at the VFW, and he gave a presentation that enlightened me and what the coroner's office do, because when we think of the coroner's office, we think of one thing. So I thought it would be good for him to come and tell us about all the services they offer.
Well, thank you, Councilman Lewis, Councilman Rowling. I really appreciate the opportunity on the behalf of Coroner Charles Preston and my extended family at the St. Tammany Parish Coroner's Office. I'd like to talk to you a little bit today about some of the things that we're doing there. I think that most people universally, when I mention the word Coroner's Office, the first thing you think of is what? Pretty much death. I think that's a pretty universal answer wherever I go. But we do so much more at the Coroner's Office here in St. Tammany Parish to make this place a safer place for our families to raise a family and to live and just have a quality of life here in St. Tammany. So the first thing I'd like to mention is that we have, in addition to our death investigation, we do a considerable amount of death investigation. We had about 3,133 deaths last year that we actually investigated. And we were, in some parishes, they don't investigate all deaths. In this parish, we investigate every death that occurs in this parish. So we had about 3,133 deaths last year, and we did a little over 500 autopsies, full autopsies, as well as a number of certifications without autopsies, which would be a case perhaps where you didn't have a family doctor and you hadn't been seen by a doctor, so we would examine those medical records and determine the cause of manner of death through our pathologist. In addition to death investigation, we have a huge mental health presence in this community. By statute in the state of Louisiana, the coroner is responsible for a number of mental health requirements, including the orders for protective custody and then the coroner's commitments. To give you an idea what an order of protective custody is when you have a family member or a loved one who is somewhat mentally ill, that they haven't taken their medications, for instance, they're hearing voices, they're seeing things, they're paranoid, or perhaps that they're having substance abuse issues. You would come to the coroner's office and they're unwilling to seek treatment. You come to the coroner's office, fill out an affidavit for an order for protective custody, and we would issue an order for protective custody that would instruct the sheriff or the local law enforcement officers to take that person into protective custody and deliver them to an emergency room. At that point, in the emergency room, the physician in the emergency room, he or she would determine whether that person is a danger to themselves, a danger to others, gravely disabled, or having substance abuse issues. If that physician finds that to be the case, they will issue a physician's emergency certificate, which is good for 72 hours of confinement. During that 72-hour period, we as the coroner's office will send a deputy coroner to that facility. That deputy coroner is not only a psychiatrist, physician, but also deputized by the coroner to perform this examination. He or she will go there, they'll examine that person, and can issue a coroner's emergency commitment for an additional 12 days of confinement for a total of 15 days of treatment against that person's, if they're unwilling to seek treatment on their own. We do about 560 last year orders for protective custody. That's huge. That's over nearly two a day. I think not just here, but everywhere in our country, that there's a tremendous mental health problem. And this is one of the ways that we at the coroner's office are helping to try to help people. Yes, sir. Oh, I thought you were asking me a question. So, overall, we handle probably, when you talk about physicians' emergency certificates, we process those pieces of paper, and we also process the coroner's commitments. We probably handle between 4,000 and 5,000 pieces of paper every year related to mental health in this community. So there is a substantial issue in this community. We also get patients that come in from outside our community to be treated here, and we work with those folks as well. In addition to that, we have the only DNA lab in the state of Louisiana which is housed in a coroner's office. So if you look at other 63 parishes, they pretty much have to go to their DNA lab, perhaps at the state police lab. And of course, with that many parishes wanting to process that kind of evidence, there's a tremendous backlog. We don't have a backlog. We do about 96% of our business, and I say business because that's what we do when we work for our law enforcement agencies. We process about all of their DNA evidence that they submit to us. About 96% of the things that we do with that. The other 4% is actually for identification. If I bring in somebody who's unidentifiable, or perhaps they come from another jurisdiction, and there's a family member who needs to be tested here to compare to a body in another jurisdiction, we'll help them with that as well. What's the advantage to that? I think that this is what's really important is we, in the world outside of this 60, of our parish, in the other 63 parishes, maybe an 8-month, 6-month, 8-month, 12-month, maybe even 18 months of a wait in line because there's such a backlog of cases with the state police. We currently have no backlog. So in a case where you're arrested and you're not guilty, or you're the bad guy and we need to catch you, we're able to issue those results, preliminary results, to the police officers and law enforcement agencies within about 72 hours versus 6 months to a year to 18 months. It's a tremendous thing for this community. I'll just give you one example. We had a case that, the other thing is we'll process evidence from nonviolent crimes where the only thing that the state police will do is some type of violent crime, homicide, rape, those types of cases, crimes against persons. So we do some property crimes. They brought in a hammer on a burglary, a simple burglary case. We tested it. The girl said, yep, this is the guy that you have in custody is the one that threw the hammer. And oh, by the way, he showed up in a bank robbery in Mandeville 6 months ago. So those are the advantages that we have here in our community by having that DNA lab. That's supported by our millage, as well as our sexual assault nurse examiner program. We have 2 full-time nurse examiners that are certified sexual assault nurse examiners. They collect evidence, they give counseling, they testify in court. They're both experts in court, and they go out to not only our parish, but they service a 5-parish area in this region. So they service St. Tammany, Tangipahoa Hole, Washington, St. Helena, and Livingston parishes. A total of 12 hospitals right now, soon to be 13. From what I understand, we're building a new hospital here in St. Tammany Parish, but soon to be 13 hospitals in 5 different parishes. So as part of that program, when we do a service for another parish, that parish reimburses us for the cost, not the victim, the parish itself or the hospital itself reimburses us for the cost of our services. So we actually are generating revenue in that respect. So the sexual assault nurse examiner program has been very, very successful, and we're very proud of that program as well. We have 44 volunteer chaplains, which we're very proud of. Dr. Preston started in 2014. He came up with the idea of having a volunteer chaplain corps. So we do have 44 volunteer chaplains. We service both sides of the parish. There's men, women, all different denominations. There's even a married couple we have that's a couple that is a chaplain couple. And so they go out with me. If I have to go out in the middle of the night, knock on somebody's door and tell them that their family member is not coming home, I have the support to give them some kind of spiritual guidance and counseling throughout that process. Very important, has been a remarkably successful program within our agency. They're also there for the first responders because we're not, as first responders, not immune to the things that we see out there. And so they're always available for police, fire, and any other first responder that wants to talk about a given incident. I hope to save the best for last. It's our life safety program, and I think I mentioned that most people think about death when we talk about the coroner's office. But we believe very strongly that we have a responsibility to conserve life in this parish. And as a result, in 2020, Dr. Preston started a life safety initiative, which began with our Bridge for Kids program, which is really our flagship program for our life safety program. We bring in parents, expectant parents and new parents. They come in for an hour of safe sleep education. So we're all familiar with the word SIDS, I think. And when you and I had kids, there was a different method of sleeping. We didn't know that there was unsafe sleep environments. But what we found that SIDS is an unexplainable condition. And we still use that as a diagnosis. However, we don't use it as much anymore because we found over the years by doing these investigations that most of these things are accidents. And most of these accidents are related to suffocation due to unsafe sleeping practices. So we bring in a family for an hour of safe sleep education, and then we give them, at the very end, we give them a crib they can take home that they're able to have a safe place to sleep, a safe platform to sleep on. It's been a very successful program. We've given away over 150 cribs since the inception, which was about a year. Well, we started in March of last year. So we've done pretty well. I mean, it's been a very well-received program. We feel very strongly that confident that we've saved a baby's life, if not 2 or 3, over that period of time. And that's been our flagship program. That's supported we can underwrite the cost of the education, the classes, but our cribs are actually supported by donations from the community, from different organizations, different businesses, and grateful folks in the community. So in addition to that, we're working real hard against the drug problem. We all know that we have a big drug problem, not just here, but everywhere in the country. We're participating in the One Pill Can Kill. I think most of you are familiar with, if you've watched the news about fentanyl coming over the border disguised as other medications, and we have found that to be the case. It seems to be getting worse, unfortunately. If I told you that we had 151 in 2021, we had 151 total overdoses, and 132 of those were opioids, and 115 of those were related to fentanyl. Only 17 that year were related to actual heroin, so we don't know whether people are thinking they're getting heroin and they're actually getting fentanyl, or they're opting for fentanyl. It's pretty hard to tell. The issue is that people are dying as a result of fentanyl. Dr. Preston, we partnered with the school board, and this is one of the things that's been very successful is our partnering with the community. We partnered with the school board. Dr. Preston, with the help of the school board's video production team, did a very powerful video. It's available on YouTube. If you want to look it up, the school board, Channel 13 did it. I can't say anything, but it's very powerful. It's aimed at those kids to not take the risk of taking a pill that they don't know what it is. So we're trying very hard that part. We're giving out Narcan as part of our OPC process. When somebody comes in to do an order for protective custody, if their family says my loved one has a problem with opioids, we're giving them Narcan to take home so that they have something to save their life. In addition to that, we're giving away packages where you could put your old medications in for like prescription medications, put a little water in there, shake it up, and it destroys the medication, makes it inert. You could throw it in the trash can, and that way it doesn't get back on the street and become one of our next cases. A very important thing to us is working against this drug problem. We also do swimming pool safety. We've done some stuff with Access TV on swimming pool safety, as well as carbon monoxide safety, which is particularly germane now during hurricane month, but it's actually a year-round problem, so we like to get that message out that it's a year-round issue, as are swimming pools. The swimming pools are there in February, just like they're there in this time of year. Some of the other programs we have is our gun safety program for children. We are giving away gun locks as part of the Project Child Safe, which is a national program. So we'll give away gun locks at events so that people who have guns can actually secure those weapons in addition to putting them in a locked box. They'll be able to just disable the weapon with that lock, and that keeps a child from getting a hold of a gun. I think, if you've watched the news lately, we've had some tragic cases where some kids, especially on the South Shore, have gotten a hold, 2 and 3-year-olds have gotten a hold of a firearm and shot themselves and died as a result. So we're on top of that. We want to try to address these things as we see them. Those are just a few of our life safety programs that we do. Very proud of that program. We keep expanding it because, for instance, as part of our Critical for Kids program, we noticed that there was an issue with shaken babies nationwide. So everybody's familiar with shaken baby syndrome, right? So we purchased what's called a shaken baby simulator. We call her Annabelle, that's her name. She's got a clear head, shows her brain, and then there's LED lights in there. And so with that tool, I'm able to take that to not only parents, to show parents in our class, but to take it to babysitter classes, caregiver classes, new dads classes, and actually show them how little shaking it takes to injure Annabelle or a regular baby's brain, because they're so much different when they're so little and so delicate. So it impresses those people on how it's not even that. You don't have to shake a baby to hurt her. It's just a small shake like that can do it. So that's another part of our program. So we've really got some really great programs. I really want to thank you all for letting me come in this evening and tell you about them. I hope that now when I leave, that instead of thinking death when I say coroner's office, we'll think preservation of life. And if I can answer any questions, I'd love to do so right now.
Yes, Councilman Smith.
Mr. Knobloch, thank you. And you all certainly have a lot of really positive things happening. It's going to be great for the community at all levels. The DEA program, it just is coincidental. I was watching the early evening news before the council meeting tonight, and they were talking about St. Tammany Parish with no backlog, DNA, and what it's actually doing is saving all the wasted money going to court, because once these criminals that are arrested, they were going to go there and think they could win their trial. All of a sudden, they get the news that, We got the DNA that proves that you're there. All of a sudden, that plea bargain and it doesn't even go to the court.
Yeah, it doesn't go to trial, and it saves the community money, I think.
Exactly. But
Some-
it sounds like you got tremendous programs and some out-of-the-box thinking. There's a lot more than most people would think the coroner's office does, okay? And congratulations for that.
Thank you so much. I also wanted to mention that we have employed a mental health outreach specialist. Adele Bruce Smith is our mental health outreach specialist. So when a family comes and we give them the Narcan or we give them the OPC, we also put them in touch with her the next day. She tries to do follow-up with all the families, because when a person goes into treatment like that, if the family's not involved when they come out, if there's no plan, that person's going to tend to fail again and be back to see us again because of a mental health crisis. So part of Adele's job is to go ahead and contact the family. They formulate a plan. They get a good place for that person to be, the appropriate place for that person to be, based on whatever their illness or condition is. And that's been extremely successful, too. And I think we're probably one of, if not the only coroner's office in this state that has that type of services attached to us, attached to our mental health program. So it's very successful. Any other questions?
Okay, yes, Councilman Ludwig?
Oh, I just wanted to say, thank you for educating us. I feel silly that I had no idea all the things that y'all have. I see you've got some flyers right there.
I do.
Awesome. Do you happen to have like a little digital, like splashy graphic or anything as well?
Well, I do, yeah.
Okay.
I've got some,
That would be great.
and if I don't have it here, if you call me, I probably can find something else,
Okay, that's perfect. Thank you.
For graphics, but.
Councilman Verret.
How do families find out about the crib and the education on safe sleep?
That's a great question. And again, I go back to the word partnership. So we've partnered with OBGYNs, we've partnered with the hospitals and their lactation units, the nurses that are there, some of the OB units. We've partnered with social services organizations, which is probably our biggest fan, is our social service organizations here, because they see people every day that need not only the education but the crib. So we get a lot of our referrals from them, and we get a lot of referrals from Facebook, believe it or not. I mean, I know that probably surprises everybody, but we advertise our classes. We do 2 classes a month. We try to do one in the daytime at about 10 in the morning on a Thursday, and one in the evening at 6, so that if somebody's working, we tend to get a better crowd at 6, believe it or not. I think we tend to get a lot more families at 6. So it's been really a tremendous program, and that's how we kind of get our referrals. But they're out there for the community, and that's why I've gotten so many more referrals from Facebook in the last month. It's been amazing, the response. And so, I'm hoping it's exponential, that the more people we reach, the more they talk to their, and then we get a lot of referrals from our existing clients, or the ladies who come. They'll say, oh, my cousin's going to have a baby next week. I had one say, I got 6 friends that are going to have babies in the next 6 months. Can we have a baby shower and do this at a baby shower? I said, well, why not? That makes sense. We could teach it at a baby shower. That would be okay. So we'll just try to be creative in our efforts to get this out to the community. But that's what we get a majority right now of our referrals.
Well, excellent. Thank you, and thank you, Councilman Lewis, for having me.
Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Before you leave, please tell Dr. Preston, I know this council all in agreement of all the good work that you do.
I will.
And we appreciate you being here today, and I know you had resource fairs across the parish. I've seen you there, different organizations you've been part of, and all this stuff, like I think Councilman Ludwig was saying, that it's just some of this stuff we didn't know about. So it gives us an opportunity to know there's a source now for this type of stuff. What is your website? That way we
Our
can...
website is www.stpcoroner.org. I'd encourage you to go look at our annual report. We just published the annual report. I think a lot of the information I've talked about tonight is in that annual report, a lot of statistics about what's going on here in St. Tammany, our experiences with the mortality and the fatalities in St. Tammany. I think that's an interesting read. We're real proud of that report. It's very comprehensive.
Well, we thank you, sir. We do appreciate you being here.
Thank you all very much.
Have a good evening.
Can I leave these for you? Is that okay? And I've got
Yes,
some
indeed.
ones. I've got one on our Kids for Kids program, and then one on...
If you want to put those right up there, we'll get right after the meeting, we'll get them to the council real quick or the public.
If you have any left over, you can put them out at the City Hall. That would be great. We'd appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you all very much
Thank
for
you.
having me.
Thanks. Okay, moving on to comments and reports. We're going to start tonight with District D, Councilwoman Ludwig.
Second time in a row. It's very exciting. All right, library in District D. recently had their back to school bash, and they wanted to remind parents and students that they have countless educational resources both in person and online, so keep that in mind. The hospital recently, at the end of July, was recognized by U.S. News and World Report as the best regional hospital in Louisiana, ranking second best in the NOLA metro area and fourth best statewide. So that's awesome for them. COVID hospitalizations are down to 18 from last month, which is not great, but good, better. Always going down is better than none. And events, I think I've kind of like given that to the mayor's office because he is so good at it. But I will say, we officially announced today Oktoberfest for the Boys and Girls Club. We're doing a 2-day event. Very excited. Friday is our Beer and Bites, which was our pandemic pivot, like a restaurant beer pairing crawl throughout downtown Covington. And then the 15th is our old school traditional beer fest that we've done since 2017. So, yes, very exciting. Over the last few years, we've raised over $50,000 for the Boys and Girls Club. So, looking forward to growing that exponentially this year as well. So, that's it.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. We're going to move right to District C. Councilman Roberts.
Surprised. So District C, obviously, we've got some news that the mayor's going to talk about going on in District C, so I'm going to let him handle that. But I did want to say to school starting, slow your roll. You see the signs out there. We didn't put them out there for our health. We want you to make sure you slow down, pay attention to not just the speed that you're going, but the people that are in the streets, the buses that are stopped, and everything that comes with taking the child's life seriously. So slow your roll. Let's make sure we pay attention. And then you may address this as well. September 10th is Tunnel to the Towers, and Never Forget Run. It's going to be at the Covington Trailhead. I just encourage everyone. We all know what September 11th was for us. It is still a lingering thought in a lot of our brains, and we want to keep supporting the firefighters as much as we can. So I ask everyone to just look for September 10th, the Never Forget Run, and participate. Come out, just show your face, and let's make sure we're doing a good thing for everyone.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. We're going to move right to District B. Councilman Boxford.
All right. First thing, it's the food bank. They had 985 total houses in July, which equated to 1,217 total boxes. They're doing with an exciting program that they're going to send kids home with food, and they started this off for the weekend at Friday at the Alton Elementary in Slidell. They had a 98% request rate for the kids that are going without food on the weekends. So this is fantastic that they're actually doing this to send them home with food on Fridays. Their donations are also down by 40% still. So if anybody in businesses or anybody out there watching wants to have some type of food drive, it doesn't take much. You'd be surprised how you just put, when people find out, they're more than willing to donate. So any business that could do it, you just set it outside your business and people will donate. For the August most needed items, they need a lot of low to no sodium items because they do the diabetic boxes and stuff for everybody. They need canned veggies, canned fruits, cereal, and rice. They're still doing the blood drives and stuff like that. They have a minimum of 15 people, but they do the food and the blood drives all together. So if any businesses are interested, they're doing that. They also need volunteers. They're regular volunteers for 9 a.m. to noon shifts. So if you're available, please reach out to the food bank or Ginger Kunkel at 985-327-0044. Also, the American Legion Post 16 is doing the Great Banana Split fundraiser. So that's going to be on August 20th from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. at 2031 Ronald Reagan Highway. The tickets are $5 per person, and the proceeds will go to the food bank for that. They're also on August 28th, they have a sip and stretch yoga. There is no charge for that, but what they would like is a donation of food. The doors open at 3:30 p.m. And one last note is for the people that are traveling in District B is Lee Road. Lee Road and River Road they've started the project where they're widening, and they're actually going to change the turn onto Lee Road to take out that really sharp turn onto it. But there's tons of accidents all the time. So a lot of times, it's better if you go a different route to get to Lee Road instead of, River Road from Lee Road, because it's blocked because of all the construction that's going on right now. But it's going to be a huge improvement and a huge safety factor for the residents of the area. That's it.
All right. Thank you, sir. Moving on to District A, Councilman Lewis.
All righty. District A, we have a few events coming up. First one is Sunday, August the 14th. There's a fundraiser being held by DJ Bankroll. He's having a special delicious ball pot starting at noon at Bochita Park. Next one is Sunday, August 21st, same location, Bochita Park. They're giving a back-to-school giveaway, raffle prizes with vendors being held by Danny DeJour. Community Color Picnic Pop-Up Shop. It's August 21st. And Boys and Girls Club is hosting their Hoops for Kids 3-on-3 basketball tournament. That's going to be August 27th at Peter Atkins Park. Check-ins at 7:30. Tournament will start at 9. Grades 4 through 12. Teams of 4, $20 per team. There'll be great prizes, winners. Registration includes jerseys. So for more information, contact the Boys and Girls of Covington. The only other thing is, we recently attended the LMA in Lafayette. Had some great opportunities to learn some good stuff. But I'm going to let our council president talk about that. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councilman Verrett, District E.
You know, I was encouraged at the progress the city's making, especially when I saw that we started with Council District B. And I find myself still talking loud, even though we started with Council District B. But with that being said, I'll say it was good to see Patrick McMath. I think his efforts are making a difference. I know we told him that, but distinguished alumni, if you will, along with Mark Wright. Good to see Diane Weiss, who served the call twice to serve on this council and is a true community leader. And talking about true community leaders, there's somebody I'd like to recognize tonight. Got a great heart. I think a lot of them. He's having a birthday tomorrow, and that would be Mr. Joey Roberts. So happy birthday. You're getting older, you probably couldn't hear me over here, but I said happy birthday. And so now I'll plug in a couple of events. Covington Heritage Foundation, we had a meeting today. The mayor joined us. We have Whisperings coming back on October 30th. We'd appreciate people looking at that on the website because there's some older materials on there, but this will be a members-only event. And so with that, looking at the website, in addition to the older pictures, I noticed that the Covington City Council is on our website asking people to join. And it's Lee Alexis, and it's Sam O'Keefe, and Jerry Connor, and Rick Smith. So, yeah. So with that said, I would like for the next city council meeting for us to take a picture with some Covington Heritage, materials, membership materials, and we put that on the
I took that picture. They were holding their checks to join, so we should all also join.
Well, and also I was going to throw that out that the challenge, is down to do that. But Whisperings is a great event. It's at Covington Cemetery number 1. I'll give more details, but we're going to have some actors portraying some of the deceased, and I think it'll be a nice evening, October 30th. Hopefully the weather participates. And of course, our History Home Tour, which is annual, which is where we generate funds in addition to membership. It is not too early to buy tickets. That is on CovingtonHeritageFoundation.com. I encourage people to go ahead and do it now. And with that, I'm done.
And that's the holiday tour.
History,
Home tour.
Holly, home, it is misspelled and put different ways on each of the pages. So that's why I say we're going to revamp the website,
It's a great event. It really is. Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Moving on, Councilman at Large Smith.
Okay. I just want to continue to show my appreciation for Public Works. You guys do a fabulous job. The response time it just blows me away, man. When a resident calls with a problem, yes, sir, we'll get there ASAP, and I'll get the phone call from that resident within 2-3 days and say, thank you so much, you know. Again, they make Mark Lorette look terrific. But, and we certainly, I'd like to recognize the efforts of our police department. Thank you for keeping us posted on some of the things that are happening in the city and how our department's handling it. You guys have a tough job. Keep up the good work. That's all I have for this evening.
Thank you, sir. I have a few things, and I know Councilman Lewis mentioned the LMA convention. Most people know it's the Louisiana Municipality Association's annual convention. Well, because of COVID, it hadn't happened in the last 2 years, so it did happen July 28th, 29th, and 30th, and the city of Covington was well represented at that convention, so I appreciate everybody that attended. We had an opportunity to hear the governor speak, also the lieutenant governor, a lot of good information, many workshops. So again, it's always good to see other municipalities there. It's council members and mayors from all the different municipalities in the state, and there's a ton of them. There really is a ton of them. A lot of small cities, a lot of medium-sized cities, but again, I wanted to thank everybody that attended. We're looking forward to next year in Alexandria, Louisiana, and I think it's the first week in August. I think it's like the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, if I'm close on that date. But anyway, so I appreciate everybody that had an opportunity to go. Another thing I want to mention really quick, Carnival in Covington is having a thank you to their sponsors party. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is last year our Grand Marshal was Haley Arsenault. She was the young lady that's a cancer survivor that had an opportunity to go into space. So we wanted to honor her as our Grand Marshal. The reason I'm mentioning this is that the Carnival in Covington Parade organization is going to give St. Jude's Hospital a $1,000 donation from our organization as a thank you. Again, Haley is a spokesman for St. Jude's also. So I just wanted to let you know that the parade organization is doing really good things out there to help others. So I thought I should mention that. Also, I'm on the board of directors for Kelly Kicking Cancer, and every year we do have a gala in October. This year it is Who's Got Talent. That's our theme. So we are actually, it's just like America's Got Talent. So if you know anyone that has some talent out there from singing, dancing, comedian, the whole 9 yards, if they would submit a video and go to kellykickingcancer.org, they can be one of our final contestants that are going to go to the gala as our entertainment and win. They could possibly win $1,000. We do have a celebrity judge panel that will judge them for that $1,000. So if you know anybody that fits the bill, 12 years or older, please have them go to kellykickingcancer.org and they can sign up. But that's what I have. It's a great organization. But our gala is October 21st at Benedict's. So that being said, I'll turn it over to Mayor Moore.
Thank you, Councilman Rowling. Thank you, Councilman Ludwig, for letting me know that I'm now in charge of the City Cultural Events Report.
If I have time, I'll try to remember to do it. I just kind of forget.
Chief Administrative Officer Bavona, would you please text Councilman Ludwig prior to the next meeting? I happen to have the cultural events here. I didn't, so. Of particular interest is that the new on-stage season is going to begin in September. This is something that was started several years ago, and it's been really enjoyable and very successful. Professional entertainers are brought in from across the country, and they perform at the Furman Auditorium. Typically, it's 4 shows. Open seating is $20. Reserved seats are $25 per person per show. These entertainers typically have performed in Vegas, Branson, Missouri, on the talk shows, late-night talk shows, on cruise ships, so they're truly professional entertainers. The new season starts in September with a Hank Williams Sr., not Junior, Hank Williams Sr. impersonator. It will not be the actual Hank Williams. And he's critically acclaimed by Rolling Stone magazine and by the New York Post. Excellent. January show will be Vicki Quaid. She's that fruitcake nun that does Are You Smarter Than Your 8th Grade Nun? And she's hilarious. She did Christmas Bingo for us once before. Very, very funny. Wonderful impressionist of Ray Charles will be in the spring. And in August of next year, it'll be Broadway tunes with Covington colloquialisms crafted into the songs. So Broadway favorite songs. And so I would suggest that you get in touch with Sarada Bonnet at the Cultural Arts and Events Office, and she can link you up with some tickets for the upcoming performances. The adult beverages, the wine there, are actually served by the Covington Heritage Foundation and benefit that organization. I'd also like to take this time to congratulate the Covington Garden Club. The City of Covington's Garden Club, which has been around for a number of years, has recently been awarded the Flower Show Achievement Award Certificate of Merit for 2021 on a national level. So they have won a national award. It's kind of a big deal, and really congratulations to them. I attended the show, and it was really interesting. And I would suggest the next one will be in April 13th. It's at Bogafilaya Hall. It's free, and it's just amazing what these ladies put together, and they put this show together. And a special shout-out to Chairperson Kim Vanek for putting that together and winning that national award. To echo Councilman Botsford, we've got the old-fashioned banana split fundraiser coming up at the American Legion, and that is on, August 20th? From 3 to 6 p.m., and then they reopen from 6 to 8 p.m. And I just suggest maybe you grab the grandkids or call up Annie Mae or Grandma and take them out for a little $5 old-fashioned banana split. That same evening will be White Linen for Public Art in downtown Covington, another wonderful Covington signature event. I believe that's free, but it's recommended that you have reservations if you plan to dine out that night. A percentage of all sales goes to public art in downtown Covington. So really a nice event. Thank you to the St. Paul's lacrosse team, which made a special appearance at our community garden right there by Pineview Middle and helped out there and helped build what's going to be the sort of the classroom stage. So I really appreciate them coming out and doing that. And finally, on cultural events, September is Food Bank Awareness Month. The North Shore Food Bank has reached out to the mayor of Covington and requested that Zumba with the mayor be hosted at the Food Bank warehouse, and that will be taking place on Sunday, September 11th. The class normally takes place at noon. Joey, I know you know this, but that particular class is going to be at 5 p.m. due to a noon kickoff between the Saints and the Dirty Birds. So we'll be doing that at 5 o'clock. Regarding Lurleen Drive in River Forest, I'm happy to report that the contract for the construction of that has been executed. The pre-construction meeting is tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, and I'll mention for those of you who don't make it out to River Forest and haven't driven on Lurleen Drive, it is arguably the worst street in all of Covington. I know you might think New Hampshire janky, I know you might think Gibson, Rutland, you might think Martin Luther King, but Lurleen Drive is the worst street. So really happy, appreciate the council budgeting that money, and look forward to that getting done. Regarding Minitree Park boat launch, I'm also happy to report that we have signed the engineering design contract, selecting the engineer and signing the contract for them to design the boat ramps. This is going to be a very complicated project. And any guess at a completion date at this time would be worthless, but we're going to design that and hopefully get that under construction in the foreseeable. We're going to be moving at the speed of government. I'm also happy to report that we have selected an engineer to design the scope of work to rebuild Janke Avenue. This is a start, but again, no reliable timeline as of yet. Regarding the Ozone Ball Field, due to previous budgeting increase and a need for a budget amendment, there was a delay, and we are now waiting word from the contractor to see if our original bid is still acceptable. And if it is, we'll be able to get started on that. I'm very happy to report that our speed bumps have been delivered. Been delayed in the what do they call it, the backup of the supply chain. So speed bumps are in. Consulting with some neighbors on exact placement. I'll loop in the affected council folks once we get that narrowed down a little bit. It should be noted that the speed bumps are actually called speed tables, and that's because they have a very gentle, slight incline. The top is flat, and that flat section is 11 feet long. And so this is different from what we probably grew up with, or if you remember those concrete lumps in Beauchene years ago that would break your axle or whatever. So this is a gentle slope up, flat on top, and a gentle slope back down. That said, it's definitely enough to move a driver from subconscious driving to conscious driving. And that's actually now our goal. There is a wonderful YouTube video that a resident sent me that I looked at, a couple of others have looked at. It's called The Wrong Way to Set Speed Limits, and it's on YouTube, The Wrong Way to Set Speed Limits. And I recommend everybody take a few minutes and watch this, because whatever we're doing is not working. Stop signs, speed limit signs are totally disregarded by those who choose to speed, or the same people who speed are the same people that run through the stop signs. So we have to move from subconscious driving to conscious driving, and that's what the speed table does, as well as we're going to hopefully be introducing some vertical delineators in certain places, and we're just going to sit back and watch and see how these things work. The speed tables that are going to be installed are temporary. The idea being that we're going to put them there, and then as a community we can decide, do we like this? Is that where we want it? This isn't what we thought it was going to be. It's not. It's working wonderful. It's not effective. And the administration will be asking for money budgeted next year for permanent speed tables or speed bumps, presuming that we're happy with them. I'd also like to share an update on our grants. Our police department receives a grant each year for $16,000 for the DARE program. And for 2023, in addition to that, they will be applying for the highway safety grant, which would be, if they receive that, between $30,000 and $50,000 to pay overtime for traffic enforcement, slow your roll, and also underage drinking. So they're working on those. They're getting one, and they're working on adding another one to it. The fire department did not get a grant this year. They apply every year. The reason they didn't is because they keep applying for an entire fire truck, which is just too big of an ask. Maybe get one at Christmas, a little smaller one under the tree. But they're going to dial back their ask this year and try to get something a little bit more attainable. The city, along with Keep Covington Beautiful, received a grant from Louisiana Community Forest for $14,500 to catalog and document all of the trees on city property. They have completed that work, and with a number maxing out at 2,000 trees have been documented, including on city property 710 live oaks, and the number of live oaks we have in the city on our property. Upon the completion, Priscilla Floca remarked, and she's the head of Keep Covington Beautiful, it is a wealth of information and a more valuable resource than we had imagined. So that was a good use of those grant dollars. City engineer Callie Baker and her department of Public Works have a commitment from the state for $1 million to repave Rutland Lee Lane and Gibson Street. This is what Senator McMath was alluding to earlier, but it actually takes a lot of work submitting on behalf of the administration, staff, and the engineer. And we're in line for another $2 million to correct the subsurface drainage below the streets. It's a good idea to fix what is under the street before paving the street. So that's the order that we'd like to do that in. Engineering and Public Works are also applying for and are in line for another $2 million, which we will combine with our federal COVID grant of $1.9 million to rebuild the sewer collection system from and in Ozone subdivision. A lot of Ozone's sewer force main is made of concrete. concrete dissolves with methane gas, wastewater creates methane gas, so we have to get ahead of that, or try to get ahead of that. Got a few shout-outs I'd like to give. I'd like to give kudos to Chief Gary Blocker and the men and women of our fire department for a couple of services that they provide that most citizens are unaware of. One of those would be your smoke alarm batteries. If you provide the batteries and call the fire department, they will come out to your home and go up there and take the smoke alarm down and change the batteries, which when you reach my age, you should not be going up and down those ladders with that chirpy sound attacking. So the fire department will change your smoke alarm batteries. The other one they do is lift and assist. For our residents that have mobility issues, you can call the fire department and 2 firemen in uniform. And the ladies like this, 2 firemen in uniform. Well, Cody. So a couple of firemen will come out and assist, going from the wheelchair to the recliner, from the wheelchair to bed. Someone slips to the floor and they can't get up. And I share this because I get comments every 7, 10, 14 days about how professional and how much courtesy they have, how courteous they are. And it really is. Our fire department does a great job, and I want to give a little shout out to those guys. Also want to give a shout out to our police department. Since midsummer of last year, Chief Mike Farrell and the PD have now removed 43 guns from our streets. 43. And if you've seen some of the photographs, some of them had some very serious firepower. Many of the owners of those guns the guns were illegally possessed, oftentimes in the hands of a felon, oftentimes in the presence of other materials that were illegal. And so it's wonderful that those people are now in custody and off of our streets. We are sending a signal that Covington is not a welcoming place for illegal activities, and we continue to do that, and that's great for the police. I'd like to also give a shout out to District Attorney Warren Montgomery and ADA Colin Sims for the strong support that they are giving us in holding and prosecuting the bad guys. We are not living in a community similar to what we see on the national news, where people are arrested and out the same day. It's a 3-pronged approach. It's the PD, it's the DA's office, and it's our judges. And it takes all of them to make our community safe. And we really appreciate the DA's support in backing up our guys' arrest. Kudos to Engineering and Public Works for their work on the detention ponds at the Savannahs. We've got those cleaned out and hope to do another one next year. Also desnagging of Blue Swamp Creek. It's not completed yet, but you can tell right now it looks so much better, and we would weather a storm much better now than we would have several months ago. They rebuilt the pavilion at Minitree Boat Launch, and it looks great. Public Works did that in-house. We didn't have to go out for bids. We would have paid a lot more to do that had we had to do quotes. So really appreciate the hard work. I'd also like to give a shout out to Kimion and our streets department. Mowing grass this summer, I mean, we are just the perfect conditions between the amount of rain we're getting, the amount of sunshine, the heat, and those guys have just done a tremendous job of keeping our road shoulders mowed and keeping our ditches cut. I'm sure we all know something in our district that's not done. I ride around and see it all the time. They're going district by district and getting a lot done. Recently, Public Works Director Jim O'Berry went to the sewer department and the water department, and he asked for volunteers. Who amongst you would like to come help the grass crew by being on the back end of a weed eater in Louisiana in August? He got 6 volunteers. I'm not sure those guys are real bright, Director. But no, seriously, just very much appreciated and a huge help. They were able to do a lot to get caught up. I'd also like to thank our residents that mow the city right away in front of their homes. Not everybody does that. Some people adopt it and say, well, that's, I know it's city property, but I'll help take care of it. There are other people that say, I'm going to cut my grass, but I'm going to wait for the city to do their side of the ditch. Really appreciate those that go out of their way to mow and help. We could not do it without their help. And for those that have these new fancy smancy zero radius turn riding lawnmowers, I invite you to go down the street and pick out another road shoulder. We would really appreciate if you might, take something across the street or down. You don't have to stop at your property line. You can go a little further down. It would make a big difference. Finally, I know you can't believe finally, huh? Finally, I cannot overstate what a wonderful job Erin Bavona and her administrative team have done in filing our claims with FEMA and with GOSEP. During the hurricane cleanup, the city spent almost $5 million removing trees and debris from inside the city limits, 8 square miles. It's our administrative staff that has to file claims to FEMA for every tree branch that was moved, every man-hour worked, every tool or vehicle used. Erin and her staff have completed the federal phase, been approved, and are now refiling at the state level. We're one of a few states that once you pass, you're approved by FEMA, the state of Louisiana then says they want you to do it all over again. In other states, we would have already been approved and the check might have been in the mail. But it's fantastic that we've gotten through the FEMA phase of it, the federal phase. We're in the state phase. She can elaborate then better than I can. But in the terms of the speed of government, Erin's team is moving at warp speed. So thank you, Erin. The speed of government. Yeah. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Council.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'm anxious to see the speed. What's the new name? Right. How do like golf carts do with that? Too bad we don't. We're going to have to Google that and see what happens. But we're very anxious to kind of see how it works out.
Councilman Rowling is referring to a video of a certain golf cart test over the speed bump at full speed. Give us more power, Scotty. And fortunately, the mayor was buckled in.
Right. Thank God. Okay.
I do have a question before.
Yes, sir.
Of the $5 million the city spent removing the trees and the tree limbs, et cetera, how much do we anticipate being recovered?
We are actually still incurring costs as we continue to work on this, so bear with me. As we continue to work on these claims, we continue to incur costs, not just our staff that we keep track of, but we also do have a consultant that works with us that has FEMA expertise. And as we work through these claims, we continue to add to our final project, right? So right now, we are at over $5 million that we've expended. At this point, we anticipate, because remember, there is a cost share, right? We anticipate getting back $4.7 million.
So 80-90%.
Yeah, so the first 45 days after Ida, it was 100% reimbursement for debris, and that was our biggest chunk of money. So that doesn't always happen, and so we really need to thank our delegation for really pushing for that with FEMA. That is a huge help to us.
Our federal delegation.
Yes, I'm sorry. Our federal delegation. That was huge for us to be able to get 100%, because otherwise it would be 75-25. So.
Councilman Boxer?
Yeah, I just had a quick couple of questions. One is, what is the status of the move of the utilities for the Bogafly Bridge on the city's behalf?
We just had a pre-construction meeting with Command Construction, who is the construction firm, last week. And I think, if I recall, the construction timeframe, they still have to mobilize, and we have to finish the contracting and the mobilization notice to proceed, I believe. But the construction phase is 75 days, I believe. Is that it? So they should be starting very soon.
Okay. The other thing is that we've delayed doing the Columbia Street Bridge
Yes.
on there because of this, proposed work and stuff like that. Is there a timeline on that, or is it just kind of, I don't know what the condition of the bridge is, obviously we need to do work on it.
Yeah, the bridge is more of a precautionary replacement to begin with. What we're looking at is, as the construction is taking place with a new bridge on Collins Boulevard, Columbia Street is going to become an alternative route. So to close that bridge at the same time we have construction on Collins would probably be a really bad idea.
No.
So the thought is, and I think we discussed in budget, that we're going to put it in the 5-year plan. Yeah, we're going to move replacing the Columbia Street Bridge into our 5-year plan so that we can do that after they finish building the Collins Boulevard Bridge.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything from administration comments? I think we covered a bunch. Almost, we're almost there. I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Rodrigue. I know he gets calls from us, from the council, and you return the calls very timely for us and good information, so we appreciate that very much. He really does. We must rate, huh? Thank you, sir. We wanted to say that. Okay, nothing else? Okay. Next meeting is September 13th, because Labor Day is the 5th, so everybody have a happy and safe Labor Day. Again, the meeting will be September 13th in these chambers at 6 p.m. This meeting is adjourned. Oh, I'm sorry, God. Okay, we'll be introducing the budget. Thank you. Have a great evening.